A lot of stuff to talk about this week in the news. Let's get right to it. Let's talk about the metro, subway, tram, underground. Did I cover all the... Is that everything?
Yeah, it is nice to be back from the holidays, yeah.
The train... Oh, well... Welcome back, Dave.
Thanks.
Did you have a metro, subway, tram, underground wherever you went?
No, I did not.
You were on the beach somewhere, weren't you?
I was on the Atlantic coast.
Did you get a suntan, sunburn?
A little bit, I think. What do you think?
You look the same as before.
Okay.
Can we talk about the tram now?
Yeah, we can talk about the
metro,
possible
the underground train thing. For those of you who don't know, this has been an on again, off again subject in Krakow for maybe a decade or so. And 4 years ago, there was a referendum, a vote held. I don't know exactly how the proposition was phrased, but it was basically, do you want a metro, yes or no? And the no camp won. We defeated the metros 4 years ago. Well, it's back in the news this week because the city government, under the leadership of Mayor Jacek Majewski, running for re-election, maybe no coincidence here, maybe a coincidence, we'll see. He authorized the spending of 9.5 million zlotys for a study to investigate the feasibility of a metro. And the study is due by the end of next year. So 12, 14 months or so, we'll see what the study says. Again, 4 years after the city said, no, we don't want one, the city is spending almost 10 million zlotys to answer the question, do you want one? Or do you need one? It's kind of strange. Before we dive into the details of this, guys, do you think Krakow needs let's call it metro, just to make things simple. Does Krakow need a metro system?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, Josh, well, thanks. Dave, over to you.
Succinct, Joshua. Or Jonathan, whatever. Okay, so it is interesting that the referendum was defeated. So it makes me wonder, is this just political gamesmanship in terms of a re-election ploy to kind of remind the people I've been mayor for a long time, I know how to build big projects, get things done, stick with me and you'll have an underground. I'm not sure. It sounds like a bit much, but are we talking about... I can't get many details in the stories I'm reading about the extent of the network we're talking about here. Are we talking about one or two long single lines, or are we talking about, an expansive...
couple of suggested lines have kind of floated. I've seen them in the media. They're all east-west, first of all. They all run for more or less the edge of Nowa Huta. The details will vary from one plan to another. Nowa Huta through Plac Centralny, more or less along Jana Pawła, along Mogilska, Rondo Mogilska, somewhere in the center, maybe under the Stare Miasto, maybe closer to the train station, and then more or less following the path of Karmelitska, Królewska, Branowicka, and ending somewhere around Ikea or elsewhere in Branowice. So east-west, one edge of the city to the other. Make sense?
Well, I mean, there's an awful lot of building work going on in Krakow. I can kind of, it's going to cost a lot of money, isn't it? An underground system, and the logical question would be straight away is, could you not first spend more money on the buses and the tram network that's already in existence? I can already hear that argument about to be made, and it's probably a sensible one. But here's my take on it. Undergrounds are cool, okay? Cool as fuck.
Got the sexy factor, huh?
Yeah, they carry an awful lot of people. It's a big, sexy infrastructure project. And some people like that. Obviously the feasibility study is going to be very closely watched. It's going to be controversial when it comes out. I think we should have a bit of faith in local politics. If there's a referendum defeat already, that mandate has been decided by the people, I think politicians would be... unlikely to go ahead with this, unless the feasibility study shows great benefit to the city.
Well, it's unlikely to be entirely underground for the entire length of it, is it? So
kind of like in Berlin, for example, it's underground, above ground, kind of back and forth.
Yeah, and in New York and Chicago as well. Right. I mean, not only is it underground in places, it's like properly overground on stilts,
elevated.
Elevated. So
could be there for 100 years.
Well, first the issue of do we need it, and then to the study. Do we need it? I don't think so. If our existing public transport network was bursting at the seams, not just at rush hour, morning and afternoon rush hour, but around the clock, okay, maybe. But I just see too many empty or mostly empty trams passing by me all the time. That's one thing. Secondly, we got let's go with the most generous estimate of the population of Krakow, 1 million, just over 1 million, right? That's not metro level population. It isn't. It's just not. We're just not big enough. Thirdly, let's just say we go with the path that I described a second ago. East-west from Nowa Huta to Branowice. Okay, great. What if you live in Kordvanov, in Wolodochocka, in Azore, in any number of places that are not within an easy or reasonable walk of one of the subway stations? How does that benefit you that we have a metro? And this is all ignoring, of course, the unbelievable jaw-dropping cost of a project like this. It just doesn't add up. The need isn't there. The money probably is not there.
Well, I'm sure a cynic would say perhaps wealthy property holders in the city are looking to, maybe make a killing by having this line go along.
Oh, I'm sure that's in the mix somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Get me all conspiracy theories spoon out.
And here's the thing, another thing that just the justification of a project like this is, getting people quickly from one part of the city to another. Okay, fine. But to take advantage of the speed of a subway system, a metro system,
you need a bit of distance between the stops.
The stops have to be quite far apart.
Right.
If you're stopping a lot, you're not, taking advantage of the speed. And let's say it stops at the train station. Any subway would be expected to stop at the train station. So it shouldn't stop again until it's about a kilometer away, which puts it, look at the map and see how far that is. Once you stop at the train station, you won't have you won't have a chance to get off again until you're on the edge of Nowa Huta, or until you're on the edge of
You can have as many
Branowice.
stops as you like. There's no traffic on the tram line. That's the great thing about it.
That's true
Actually,
too.
okay, a little bit of a parallel to this. I was reading recently about the tram system in Edinburgh, and which apparently was enormously expensive, doesn't really cover very much, and is seen by a large number of people as a white elephant, even though it's used quite a lot. And somebody posted up the example. It does actually run out to close to the airport as well as the mainline rail station. But actually, the cost of taking a tram in Edinburgh to the airport is more than taking a train, and slower.
Yeah, I mean, we built a kind of a two-line tram network in the last 10 years. People use it a lot.
You mean in Dublin?
Yeah. And Dublin's kind of like, I suppose, Edinburgh would be a bit of a low-rise sprawl rather than Krakow, which is very built up. I'd be interested to see the study, lads. Let's see what's in it. They've decided to pay for it. The study has been
it's
written.
going to come back and say yes. It's going to come back and say yes.
Well, okay,
it's a good
but
idea.
you would imagine this document that costs 9.5 million zloty will not just come back 400 pages, you open it up and the word yes is inside. Okay, there will be some interesting, juicy detail, and maybe we could have a guest on to kind of delve into it with us a little bit when it actually comes out and give a serious analysis, because right now we don't really know.
Keep an eye on this. This will be something that will be popping up in the news from time to time, but I'd just be much more in favor, I think, Dave, as you mentioned, extending the current network, especially the tram
You make a lot of
system.
good points. In fairness to you, you're talking a lot of sense, but I want to see the report.
But you still like it because it's sexy.
Underground,
Sexy
man.
metro.
And a lot of people must think like that as well. I mean, because it's fast, it's reliable. There's nothing more reliable than a tram and an underground, because there's no traffic. It never doesn't stop unless a train breaks down. It's reliable.
I think expanding the high-speed tram network has started in the last few years would seem to me the obvious.
And
way
it's
to go.
it's much better than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But still, people in Azory and people in Prądnik Białe, Prądnik Czerwony, people in parts of Nowa Huta have no tram service out there.
Yeah, but
right?
actually,
take it out there.
The tram has been mooted to be extended beyond Prądnik Białe for some time.
Question of priorities.
Actually, even looping round and coming into Nowa Huta from the north. Which,
But I mean,
would really, and you're getting out into more open land there. So building overground infrastructure is considerably cheaper.
I won't be happy until I can go to IKEA and get my meatballs on the tram. That's when I'll be happy. Speaking of meatballs, actually, that makes no sense. I don't know where I'm going with it. Minimum wage. Make something up.
beautiful.
I don't know how you do it.
Just pretend it makes sense. The national government announced this week an increase in the legal minimum wage for 2019. The new numbers are 2,250 zlotys. This is monthly, by the way, monthly based on full-time work. And this is brutto, gross, before taxes, which works out to an hourly rate of 14.70. In euro, what is that in euro, Dave? 3.20?
Well, you're going to be getting like 12 after tax, so it's about €3, isn't it?
Something like that. So minimum wage, you work full-time in Poland, minimum wage 22.50. What do you think?
hard to have a really strong opinion about that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's been creeping up for years, so good on you, them.
It's good that it's going up, but it's still...
It's not a radical rise or anything. It is quite common in most European countries, if your economy is doing well, which Poland's is, to have a slightly increasing minimum wage.
Let's just take, I don't know, the example of somebody working in fast food. Let's just assume that an entry-level position in fast food, they're making this minimum wage. Mm-hmm. So this works out to about $620. Let's go euros. What was the euro amount? I saw it a second ago. I think it was like just over 500 euros. 520 euros. Dave, somebody working in Dublin at a fast food restaurant, how many hours do they have to work to make 520 euro?
Do you have the answer on your...
No, I'm curious.
I don't know. I mean, you'd probably be about $9.50 an hour.
So a week and a half, maybe?
Yeah, what's your point? I mean, I
don't know. I mean, just still, when the money's going up and it's
still quite low. I mean, but
there's still every reason to say, you know what, the job in Dublin, the job in England, the job in France looks good to me because you can make 2, 3, 5 times more money, right?
Well, look, the economy's booming, so if some of those people start coming home, there's jobs here in Poland, wages will continue to rise, and of course, it's all relative to living standards and living costs as well, John, as you well know.
Yep.
Josh, sorry.
I mean, as you probably know, I'm fairly dubious about the whole idea of minimum wages, especially in countries where the cost to employers of having staff are very, very high compared to what the employee
that's
receives.
A good point. The numbers we just gave are not the total numbers.
You impose higher minimum wages, employers are going to employ less people.
So when you say dubious about the minimum wage, you mean you don't think there should be a minimum wage?
No, I don't think there should be a minimum wage.
Just be whatever the parties agree to is what they get paid.
Well, it should be a free market. I mean, I know that people say, well, but then the evil, grasping capitalist bosses will just exploit the poor, benighted worker. But I mean, in a rising job market, there's competition for jobs, low unemployment, and you have to pay a decent wage, otherwise you're not going to get some.
Exactly. The natural wage pressure, could be driving it up higher. Even if we don't even know, that could already be the case, people.
Well, I think it is actually, yeah.
So, nice bit of economics.
Inconvenient truth that you raised there, Josh. Even people who get minimum wage, some of those people are still overpaid, even making the minimum wage.
This is true, yeah. I mean, you have to tie it in. The contribution they're making, the value they're contributing to their employer. Exactly. Technically, it's tied into productivity.
Sounds
harsh. The value you're creating for your employer is less than he's paying you.
Sounds harsh, but true.
Then he's kind of giving you, or she.
Well, I think
is being a charity.
Policy-wise, this has been a lever governments have pulled an awful lot in the last 20 years. The trick is not to raise it too much, and I don't think the Polish government have. I know you sent me an interesting case study about the Californian minimum wage, where they raised it quite drastically, and some economists have suggested that it did reduce certain amount of jobs in small businesses. But I think Poland's going to be able to soak up a 14.70 minimum wage, no problem.
Speaking of money, a lot of money, 35 billion zlotys to be exact, or actually it's probably not exact, it's probably a guess, but this is a subject we've talked about before. The government wants to build a new airport about 45, 50 kilometers outside of Warsaw.
Megaport.
It showed up in Bloomberg this week. It's a big deal. It's meant to be basically a mega hub for both passengers and cargo. The government sees Poland's geography as being kind of fortuitous in the sense that they can be this is a cliche, the gateway to Europe or the gateway to Asia going the other way, international trade and whatnot.
Well, it rather makes a change from being a fortuitous or unfortuitous location for countries that wish to find somewhere flat to have a battle on.
Geography has been mostly unlucky in much of history, but there's maybe some good parts as well. Do we need another airport, and do we need another 35 billion zloty airport?
Well, it's kind of like the underground network. It's how you view big infrastructure. Do you think it's a wise investment from the public purse to take a chance, which is what an airport like this would be? But I'm for this one. In theory, again, it's another study being commissioned, isn't it? The details exactly haven't been released on it. I think they're talking about starting with 2 runways and then building it up to 4 over time. But yeah, they're talking about taking a lot of cargo trade as well, agricultural cargo trade from all around Europe. That would be an interesting strategy, I suppose.
Well, I think, certainly in comparison to an underground or metro system, that something like a a brand new major overground airport hub that has the potential to earn a lot of money over an extended period of time has to make more sense as an investment. I mean, I could imagine that the cost of the underground wouldn't be far off what this airport would cost, but in fact, the underground would never make money. I mean, all urban public transport systems are subsidised to some degree.
Yes, they certainly are. And I there was an interesting soundbite in the article about taking in Asian design partners, because it's quite a competition in Asia to have the best airports. I think it's a good way of looking at things. I mean, this could be the next generation type airport. The best airports in the world, John. Most of them are quite old now, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. A lot of the new airports just
in the Western world.
Yeah, they are. They're showing their, the JFKs of the world and whatnot. They're kind
Heathrow.
of.
And Michael O'Leary and Ryanair are always encouraging people to build, cheap, useful, quick turnaround airports. But guess what? They're miserable, soulless little places. Lisbon has this little shed tacked onto their main terminal called Terminal 2, where they really can't handle the flow. It's just a miserable place to be. It's tiny. It's cramped. I mean, we've lost Concorde, we're all bunched into these horrible cow sheds on the way to holiday. Can we not put a bit of glamour back in aviation? Can we not?
Yeah.
Can we not have some proper bars and nice places to go when we go into an airport? I mean, surely it's people shop a lot in airports.
In the age of budget airlines, you want some glamour back in air travel?
Yeah, man. I mean, just in the terminals, I like Ryanair's planes. They're simple. Nobody puts their seat back, which I love. That was
I love that.
He'll always have me for that innovation. I always hated that. I was like, how dare you steal my space? We did not negotiate this. This is not cool. And the new model planes particularly have a bit more leg room. The seats are even thinner. I'm a big fan of Ryanair. No problem with him at all. But he does tend to sneer at this type of development. The DAA didn't listen to him. They built, at the height of the recession, this magnificent second terminal. Cost billions. But guess what? Now it's filling up, pretty much full all the time, because Ireland's really bounced back. And in the long term, even though it costs an awful lot of money, it is going to make an awful lot of money for Ireland. And, sometimes you have to spend it to make it, boys.
About the airport, when this much money is at stake, generally you have to believe that, again, billions, you have to believe that a lot of very competent, qualified people take a hard look at this before it gets okayed and sent to the next level of consideration. And by the time it reaches the finish line, you can trust that the process has vetted it properly and it's ready to go. Due diligence. That's in the private sector. But when you get into when the government's hands are all over it, the calculus is completely different. There's a prestige factor here, and there's a patronage factor here. Everybody wants to be able to be in control of who gets the contracts and whatnot. And so this hard accountant's evaluation of does it make sense or not gets thrown out the window in favor of who can put their name on it and who can give contracts to their friends. And so I don't trust it.
Kaczynski Airport, I can see
Kaczynski
it now.
Airport. Oh.
Can you imagine?
Well, look, governments build infrastructure all the time, don't they? Where do you think all the bloody roads come from?
Yeah,
John?
fair enough. But are they done on time? Are they done on budget? Or do they work when they're finished?
Well, as I said, there were problems with T2, but sometimes you have to just look into the long term and say, you know what? We have a good feeling this makes strategic sense. We're going to invest in our future, in jobs and growth. And if it comes off, it's going to be to the benefit of everybody, isn't it?
Speaking of, to the benefit of everybody.
Fail big.
Yeah. Another link coming up from John.
Kind of a link. All right, guys. 2-3 weeks ago, we were making fun of this. We were making fun of the idea that the city could ban the sale of alcohol at night in shops, not in pubs and restaurants. Guess who's laughing now? Just this week, the city government says that in 2 of the jurisdictions of the city, probably the 2 most important ones when it comes to booze, that is the Old Town and Casimir's, starting in January, between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., no alcohol sales permitted. Again, in shops, not in restaurants and pubs. No alcohol sales between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Again, we're laughing about it 3 weeks ago. It's the law, or it's going to be the law now. Dave, how are you coping with this tragic news?
Well, the last time we had a bit of a misunderstanding because I thought you did mean bars and restaurants. I was, losing my mind there for a minute. I don't care, to be honest with you. I never buy my drink late at night. I always have it stocked in if I'm going to have a drink at home, which isn't that often these days. So, it doesn't really bother me at all. I'm going to be selfish on this one and say, after a bit of a jolt when I heard it, I really don't care.
Not your problem.
Well, I tell you, I think what will happen is that the 24-hour alcohol shops, which are a feature of most kind of streets in the city, they're going to be hit by that because that's all they sell.
Yeah.
However, your Carrefour Expresses, many of which are 24-hour, there's a few others which sell groceries and alcohol. I suspect before very long it'll be like it was in London in the bad old days when you could go into one of these shops that was supposed to stop selling alcohol at 11 p.m., 2 a.m., and you'd wink at the guy behind the counter. You buy your crisps and your pomegranates, and then he slips a 4-pack of Heineken into a carrier bag.
Now, I'm trying to imagine you winking at the guy behind the counter there.
A series of shifty gestures going on.
Metaphorically, of course, but I'm sure that getting hold of alcohol won't be any kind of a problem despite that, although I do feel aggrieved.
Hey, we're in a country that banned buying everything on Sundays, so how hard can it be to ban alcohol in the middle of the night in 2 districts of one city and certain kinds of establishments? It seems kind of small by comparison.
It's kind of starting up, though, isn't it? The old the backlash now against the tourism industry. The Airbnb protests are coming as well. I can tell you that much. Yeah.
This is a backlash against just people acting like idiots, and many of those idiots are tourists. Let's be honest. I mean, local people, cause problems too. But
I don't know that it's that much tourists buying takeaway alcohol after 10 p.m. though. I think it's an attempt to keep a lid on the locals who enjoy too much drink around the clock.
But how many locals? Well, yeah, okay, they're out in the. I was going to say how many of them live in the center of town, but yeah, they don't really live there, I guess. We'll see. It is a backlash. I also have to wonder how many of these people have friends on the city council as well. People really upset about this nighttime drinking stuff as well.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. We've got a metro coming to town, more money in your pocket, airports, no alcohol at night. What else could you want? What an episode. Fantastic. If I do say so myself. Don't forget to go to our website, KrakCast.pl. You can find our contact information there if you want to drop us a line. Tell us what you think, question, comments, hopes, dreams, aspirations, all that kind of stuff. God knows we need the help. Thanks, and we'll see you next time on the KrakCast.